Hey, this is Catherine Lane, and welcome to Catherine's Conversations in the Country. Welcome to my home. I want to welcome Amy Kulbok again. We're talking about mental health more this month. We were just talking about narcissistic personality, so now I'm all jumbled up thinking about that.
It's a big topic.
I've had one in my past, and
it's
a big topic. But we're going to talk today about trauma, and it is something that I think everyone experiences to different degrees.
Yeah.
But everybody experiences some kind of trauma in their life. Let's start with a childhood trauma. And unfortunately, we don't have 10 minutes to talk about this. I wish we did, but let's start with a childhood trauma. Let's say you grew up in a chaotic home, and you grow up and you still carry so much baggage, and you have trouble moving forward in your adult life. First of all, how do you reconcile that as you get older?
Well, I think I want to say to anybody listening who has experience of childhood trauma, you're not broken. You're not crazy. It's not too late to tend to that part of you that desperately needed something that you didn't get. And that counseling is a good way to do that. Working through trauma, I think a lot of people have an idea of trauma or a trauma therapy, that I'm going to go in and repeat my trauma until it doesn't hurt anymore. And that's not the way we do trauma therapy. It's more about figuring out what you needed at the time and how do we get that to you now, and teaching those things. But first off, for childhood trauma, I think understanding that there's grief involved. There's a lot of grief involved, and part of the work is accepting there are things I didn't get that I needed. There were people that I should have had that I didn't have, and that is something to grieve. So it's complicated work.
Work it through.
Work it through. Yeah, absolutely. There is absolutely another side to it, and it doesn't have to be painful. Yeah, it's work, but it doesn't have to be painful.
Now, let's say that you suffer a big trauma as an adult, an unexpected trauma, a tragic trauma that will impact you and your family for the rest of your life. What should you do in the event of that happening?
Like, immediately, shock is a thing, right? Dissociation is a thing, and that's the whole first however long, is just understanding that my system has no idea what to do. Your world gets totally turned upside down. Your brain is having to recalibrate. It's trying to make room for something that shouldn't exist. And so shock and dissociation is a thing. Your body is going to do weird things. Your sleep is going to do weird things. Your eating is going to do weird things. And that's normal. That is so unfortunately, that's how you survive it. Dissociation is a means of surviving unthinkable things. So our bodies and our brains are going to do very strange things. And then when the pieces start to come together, when we start to gather, our senses about the debris and about the destruction, the weight of that, then we're kind of left with. A lot of the people come around us and gather around us when we're still in shock, and when we're still, and then really when things start to settle is when the people things get quiet around us, and that can be a very scary, very, very lonely thing. So I would say, second to just kind of give yourself some grace for that first part. That doesn't last forever. Second part is gather your people. Gather your people. Say yes to people who say, can I bring you something? Accept help, but gather your inner circle as close to you as you possibly can.
And you can work through this with counseling as well.
Absolutely.
There are exercises so that you can be well again.
Absolutely. Find a good therapist. Find a therapist who specializes in trauma. I would say I specialize in trauma. That is my specialty. And someone who understands and can move. And sometimes it's slow and sometimes it's fast, right? But it's a process, and it's an evolution, just like grief. It just evolves. Trauma does. But there is a way through it. Your life is not going to look like it did before the trauma. But in some ways, different can be just as meaningful.
It can be livable.
It absolutely can be livable, and sometimes it can be richer. But you got to do the work to get there.
You got to work at it.
You got to work at it.
All right. Amy, thank you so much.
Of course, absolutely.
Be well, y'all.